Welcome back, everybody, to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. You can also follow us on YouTube. Got some great video content. Our YouTube handle is at LA Rams Up. You can follow us on Instagram as well. I'm your host, Mark. Let's get to it. Welcome back, Ram fans. The NFL draft is finally upon us. We're going to have some final thoughts on that. We also have a wrap-up of our top 50 greatest Rams ever and our NFL draft trivia questions at the end here. But mostly, we need to talk about the draft. I will be live streaming during those final handful of picks in the first round as we track who is going to be left for the Rams at the top of the second round. Then I'll come back Friday night and I will stream during the second and third round. Hang in there as long as I can. The problem with the day 2 of that draft is the Rams probably won't end up picking at number 36. I think they're going to slide back down, trade with one of these teams that has 2 picks in the fourth round. Takes 2 to tango, though, and hopefully the Patriots, Falcons, or Browns, teams with multiple fourth-round picks, will want to dance with the Rams. Rumor has it the Rams want 5 picks in the top 150, and such a trade would make that happen. For example, as in Chad Reuter's mock draft, the Rams give up number 36 and slide back to 46, but also pick up 2 picks in the fourth round. That would give them 5 picks in the top 135, and I think that really would be ideal. So we may end up waiting around for the Rams' first pick longer than we think. But again, like I said, it takes 2 to tango. Rams may have to get less in return than they really want if they are so desperate to move back and add those additional picks inside 150. Just to lay out the terms of a potential trade like that, number 36 overall that the Rams own is worth 540 points, according to Draft Tech's value chart. Number 46 belonging to the Patriots is worth 440, and number 117 and 135, both in the fourth round, both owned by the Patriots, are worth a combined 98.5. So that matches up almost perfectly. 540 points for 538.5. The Rams drop 10 picks in the second round, but pick up those 2 fourth-round picks. One of those fourth-round picks, by the way, the 135 overall, is a comp pick the Patriots own. And that's just an example. You got the Falcons and the Browns out there as well with multiple fourth-round picks. It's just a matter of doing the math, figuring out how it works out value-wise for each pick, and which team is maybe a little more desperate than the other to actually make the trade. If it's the Rams, they may not get the exact point value they're hoping for. If it's the other team, could work out in the Rams' favor. The problem trading with Cleveland is they do not have a second-round pick. So the Rams would have to give up number 36 overall, drop all the way back into the third round, number 74 overall, pick up 2 additional fourth-round picks, and Cleveland would still have to throw in some extra picks later in the draft. And I don't know if they're going to be willing to do that to move up to number 36. And I'm not so sure the Rams want to move that far back where their first pick is number 74 overall. Of course, they can always package stuff up and move back up. But that trade by itself would mean the Rams pick 3 times in the third and 2 times in the fourth, as opposed to 1 time in the second and 2 in the third. And Cleveland, of course, would still have to throw in something extra. Atlanta, on the other hand, they have the 44th pick overall in the second round, so the Rams could drop 8 spots, and Atlanta's 2 fourth-round picks are worth 74 and 68 points. Rams aren't going to get both those fourth-round picks, though. It'd more likely be the fourth-rounder plus perhaps a fifth-rounder. So the Atlanta trade would look like this. The Rams drop from 36 to 44, pick up, let's say, the 110th pick as well, and an additional fifth-round pick to even things out, something like that. So the New England trade is the most attractive in my opinion, but New England's typically not a team that likes to move up in the draft. They typically move down and accumulate more picks, much like the Rams are trying to do this year. But hey, make that trade with Cleveland perhaps, and then bounce back up, package some picks, and get back up late into the second round perhaps. I know this is a lot to take in, really difficult to explain, but join the live stream. I'll have some spreadsheets up, I'll have some numbers up that helps explain all of these potential trades, the value chart, how it could all work out with any one of these three teams that the Rams might trade with. So let's look at what the Rams draft haul might look like if they made, let's say, this New England trade as proposed. So they end up with 5 guys in the top 135, and don't get hung up on the players I actually selected in this mock draft. It just gives you an idea of the types of players that could be available to the Rams. So they end up with 3 of the Patriots picks, the 46th, 117th, and 135th overall, plus their own original picks, number 69 and 77 overall. So I ran it through the mock draft database, making those selections for the Rams. And at number 46, I came away with edge rusher Keon White. Now, B.J. Ojulari and Tomi Adebawore were both still available. Take your pick. I went with White. At number 69, I went with the cornerback Tyreek Stevenson. Now, I've heard people say he's not really a fit with what the Rams like to do. Point taken. That was my pick. Isaiah Foskey, the edge rusher, was still there, and plenty of cornerbacks. But I rolled with Stevenson in this example at number 77 overall. Now, Paul Walia and Tom Courts really took issue with me suggesting the Rams would use one of their top 3 picks for a wide receiver. I still think they will. Maybe they'll wait till the 4th round, but they can get cornerbacks in the 4th round and defensive linemen in the 4th. Wide receivers, you better get them early, and that's what I did here. I took Tyler Scott, the wide receiver from Cincinnati. Guy has been compared to T.Y. Hilton in a lot of ways. We're into the 4th round now with the 117th pick. I took the versatile cornerback Riley Moss out of Iowa. And at 135 overall, I took a defensive lineman, 6'3", 303-pound Carl Brooks out of Bowling Green. So I hit some areas of concern, obviously, cornerback and edge, stocked up on defensive line next year, as Tom Courts pointed out in our pre-draft show the other day. The Rams only have 1 defensive lineman under contract for 2024, so they may go defensive line early. The reason I feel strongly about wide receiver is I just don't think there's a lot of dynamic threats in this offense, not the type of guys Sean McVay is going to lean on. Cooper Kupp, yeah, and then you got Van Jefferson in the last year of his contract. Tutu Atwell, they just don't seem inclined to use him enough. Ben Skowronek, Lance McCutcheon, Austin Trammell. I don't know. I think they're going to add a wide receiver early in this draft, and Tyler Scott was my pick. So they end up with those 5 picks in the top 135 and come away with 5 guys that should be able to contribute pretty early on, and most importantly, plug some big holes on that defense. Again, don't get caught up too much in the players I selected. Can't predict which specific players the Rams are going to pick, but I'm pretty confident this is going to map out pretty well position-wise with the Rams. We'll find out how right or wrong I was in a couple of days here. Now, 2 more things to cover here. First, my 10 bold predictions for the Rams 2023 NFL Draft, and then I'm going to get a little bit into my top 50 Rams of all time and recap those 10 draft trivia questions and the bonus question too. Okay, I've been looking forward to this. I'm going to give you my 10 bold predictions for the Rams in this 2023 draft. A lot of them I'm going to flat out guarantee. Let's get started. Bold prediction number 1. They will not trade up for number 36, and I'm guaranteeing this one. Not going to happen. I don't think there's players in that 20 to 35 range that are guys that the Rams just have to go get. Sacrifice picks to move up 5 or 10 spots. Makes no sense. Not going to happen. Guaranteed. Bold prediction number 2. they're going to draft at least 2 cornerbacks. They just have to. Right now, Darion Kendrick, Kobe Durant, the starters, Sean Jolly and Robert Rochelle, probably special teams players. Rochelle, I guess they have some faith in him. Certainly hasn't been evident by watching this team the last couple of years. Rams are going to draft 2 cornerbacks at least. Bold prediction number 3 is a corollary to that. Not going to guarantee this one, but if the Rams add picks, if they get up to 13 picks, they are going to draft 3 cornerbacks. That's right, 3. Bold prediction number 4. They are going to draft a quarterback in the 5th round. Now, I can't guarantee this, but I feel pretty strongly about it. If you gave me 2-to-1 odds, I'd probably take it. That just seems to be the wheelhouse for the type of quarterback the Rams are going to want to draft. We're talking about guys like Jake Haener, Tanner McKee, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Jaron Hall, Aidan O'Connell, Clayton Tune, maybe Max Duggan. He'd probably be a little bit later. Maybe Stetson Bennett. He'd be in the 7th round. I'm taking the 5th round. Rams draft a quarterback in the 5th round. Final answer. Not guaranteeing it, though. Could be the 4th, could be the 6th. Just depends on how many picks they add. If there's a run on quarterbacks earlier than expected or later. But I'm going with the 5th round. Bold prediction number 5, and I'm going to flat out guarantee this one as well. The Rams will draft a wide receiver with one of their first 5 picks. Now, I've had some pushback on this, but this wide receiver room needs some improvement. Sorry to say, it's just one injury away from being one of the worst wide receiver groups in the league. They're going to draft a wide receiver, and it's going to be fairly early. Bold prediction number 6, going to guarantee this one. Of those first 2 picks, wherever they end up falling, one of them is going to be a pass rusher, an edge rusher, or an interior guy with the ability to get to the quarterback, more likely an edge, but I'm guaranteeing that as well. I think I'm going out on a pretty sturdy limb on that one. Bold prediction number 7. If they end up with only 11 picks, they will draft just 1 offensive lineman. Now, I'm not going to guarantee that because I could be wrong. I think that's the way it's going to go, though. I've seen some mocks with the Rams taking 2 offensive linemen with their first 3 picks, taking a right tackle with their first pick. None of that makes any sense to me. I think if they have 11 picks, it's 1 offensive lineman. They're going to spread these picks all over the place. If they add a couple extra picks, they get to 13 picks, maybe a tackle and an interior guy. But I think the focus is going to be away from the offensive line in this draft. And bold prediction number 8. They will draft a safety in the 6th round. Can't guarantee it because you know what? It could be the 7th round. I saw a mock with the Rams taking a safety in the 3rd round. Not going to happen. And if it ends up happening, I may just skip the next podcast and see if you all forget about this. Bold prediction number 9. They will draft a tight end. And I can guarantee that. I think this is the end of the road for Tyler Higbee as a Ram, unfortunately. And they're going to have to add a young tight end to this group because they don't have a sure thing here. Hunter Long, Bryson Hopkins, and for now, Tyler Higbee, not good enough for this offense. Maybe Hunter Long will surprise us. Hey, maybe Bryson Hopkins will. But McVay is going to grab a tight end somewhere in this draft. That's a guarantee. Bold prediction number 10, they will end up with at least 1 4th-round pick. Guaranteed. I'm guaranteeing that. They're going to make a trade to get into the 4th round. And I'm tempted to tell you they're going to end up with 2 4th-round picks. But they could be wheeling and dealing all day long, give up one of those 4th-round picks that they pick up in a first trade, add additional picks in the 5th round, maybe try to move back up into 3rd, maybe try to stockpile 2024 picks. But they will end up making at least 1 pick in the 4th round, guaranteed. So those are my 10 bold predictions with a few guarantees mixed in there. And maybe we'll recap this after the draft, or maybe we won't. Maybe we won't. Next up, I will share some of the interesting facts I discovered while compiling my greatest 50 Rams ever, and I will share all those draft trivia questions. If you missed them, posted them on the YouTube channel over the last 10 days. You want to hear them, check that segment out. I've been producing 2 series on the YouTube channel. One is my countdown of the Rams' top 50 players all time, wrapping up with number 1 this week, and my NFL Rams draft trivia questions also wrapping up this week. And in doing this top 50 players countdown, I came across some really interesting facts, interesting data that I thought I'd share with you. My fearsome 4 discoveries from my research in producing the Rams' top 50 players of all time. And by the way, that top 50 and my draft trivia questions will both be posted on the website ramsup.com. So my fearsome fact number 1 discovered in producing these top 50 players. Fact number 1, number 50 on my list, Flipper Anderson. He's 8th in all-time career receiving yards for the Rams. If he had that same number of receiving yards for the Chicago Bears, he would be number 1 on their list, surpassing Johnny Morris's 5,059 yards. Morris would be in 9th place if he had that number with the Rams. Fearsome fact number 2. Number 21 on my list was the linebacker Les Richter, inducted to the Hall of Fame a few years back. Really interesting guy. I had no clue how impressive he was as a football player. He was a first-round draft choice of the NFL's New York Yanks in 1952. The Yanks folded before he played a down for them, and his rights went over to the Dallas Texans, who traded him to the Rams for 11 players. Now, during his 9-year career with the Rams, Richter did not miss a game, primarily a linebacker and one of the best in the game, but he also scored 193 points, which included a touchdown, 106 extra points, and 29 field goals. Meanwhile, on defense, he's intercepting 16 passes, selected to 8 straight Pro Bowls, 4 times a first-team All-Pro, and in his final season, put a little icing on the cake here, he played center after the starter was hurt. So, played a little bit of offensive line, kicked field goals and extra points, and oh, by the way, an 8-time Pro Bowler at linebacker. I guess you'd call Les Richter a pure football player. Fact number 3, I wanted to talk about my 41st and 49th top 50 players, Charlie Cowan and Joe Schiavelli, both offensive line. The Rams have had a bunch of great offensive linemen over the course of their history. Tom Mack, Orlando Pace, Jackie Slater, Doug Smith, Dennis Hara. The list goes on. But these 2 guys, they were never superstars. They combined for 6 Pro Bowls between them, but both of them played for 15 straight years on that offensive line from 1961 to 1975. You talk about stability and durability and playing at a very high level. Hats off to these 2 guys, often forgotten. Most younger Ram fans probably never heard of these guys, but back in the day, the Rams' offensive line was pretty impressive, and it was these 2 guys anchoring it for over a decade. Now, this 4th and last fact relates to my 42nd greatest Ram ever, Larry Brooks, and he also managed to be the answer to my final draft trivia question, question number 10. And that question was, who did the Rams pick with the 355th pick in the 1972 draft? That's round 14. And go on to play 11 years for the Rams, 74.5 sacks, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, and went on to have a prolific coaching career, coaching the defensive line for the Rams, Lions, Bears, Packers, and Seahawks. Man, the Rams have had a lot of great running backs, wide receivers, offensive linemen, and of course defensive linemen, Deacon Jones, Aaron Donald, Merlin Olsen, Jack Youngblood, Robert Quinn, Leonard Little. That list goes on as well, but is Larry Brooks the greatest draft pick the Rams have ever had? 355th pick. Think about that for a second. Round 14. And he goes on to have this career Number 42, Larry Brooks. Hats off to him. What a draft pick that was. And I'm going to make the argument right now, the Rams' best draft pick ever. And just for fun, I'll run down these draft trivia questions for you real fast. I have 10 of them. They're all out on the website already and on the YouTube channel. If you missed them, here they are. Question number 1. In the 2016 draft, the Rams selected Jared Goff, number 1 overall. They didn't have another pick until the 4th round. Who was that next selection? You got it. Tight end Tyler Higbee. Question number 2. Who was the University of Hawaii wide receiver the Rams selected in the 2011 draft? Give you a second there. I know it's on the tip of your tongue. That's right, Greg Salas. Question number 3. In the 2014 draft, the Rams selected Aaron Donald with the 13th overall pick, but he wasn't their first pick in the draft. Who did the Rams select before AD? This is a gimme. This is an easy one. Everybody knows the answer. Greg Robinson, the offensive tackle. Question number 4. Who was the future Hall of Famer the Rams selected with their first pick in the 1993 draft? Future Hall of Famer, a running back from the University of Notre Dame, went on to have some great years with the Steelers, nicknamed the Bus. That's right, Jerome Bettis. Question number 5. In 1974, the Rams drafted a Heisman Trophy winner. Who was he? If you're over 50, 55, you know this one. If you're younger, perhaps not. That would be the Penn State running back, John Cappelletti. Question number 6. In the 2014 NFL Draft, the Rams traded their second-round pick, 44th overall, and their fifth-round pick, 153rd overall, to the Buffalo Bills in order to move up and draft who? And I offered a backstory on this. A couple of years before, the Rams had been waiting for Bobby Wagner to fall to them. The Seahawks traded up and drafted him, and 2 years later, the Rams are eyeballing a Florida State safety. They wanted this guy bad, and they thought the same thing might happen, so they traded up and drafted LaMarcus Joyner. Question number 7. The Rams drafted Eric Dickerson with the 2nd overall pick in the 1983 draft. Who did they select next with their 2nd-round pick that year? And a hint, Dickerson and this player, wide receiver, combined for over 17,000 yards from scrimmage for the Rams. Now, this is that wide receiver we often forget about because of Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and Cooper Kupp and a bunch of great wide receivers that came before this guy as well. But yeah, that's right, Henry Ellard. Question number 8. Sean McVay took over as coach of the Rams in 2017. Who was the first player the McVay Snead Brain Trust drafted? And that would be, I'll give you a hint here first. Remember, McVay had coached tight ends with the Redskins. He had Jordan Reed there, got great production out of him. So a lot of people thought McVay would draft a tight end, and he did, Gerald Everett. Question number 9. In the 2017 NFL Draft, the Rams selected 2 players from Eastern Washington University. One of them was Cooper Kupp. Who was the other? And this is pretty easy. I think every Ram fan should be able to get this. And the answer is Samson Ebukam. And question number 10, I already referenced this one, gave it away. Most Ram fans think Aaron Donald was their best draft pick ever. Who was the guy picked 355th overall. Like I said, we already went over this. The 1972 draft pick out of Virginia State. 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 74.5 career sacks for the Rams, Larry Brooks. And the bonus question. Now, you are a super fan if you can answer this one. In the history of the NFL draft, only one player from a Canadian university has been selected in the first round. That was in 1986 when the Rams drafted an offensive lineman out of Queen's University. Rams took a lot of heat for this pick. They had a great offensive line intact already. They select this guy, and he was okay. Played a few years for the Rams, moved on to the Eagles, and he ended up being a decent football player, but never really lived up to that first round value, and that is Michael Shad. Okay, one last reminder, check out our live stream Thursday night as the first round winds down, and then the top of the second round will be on again, and we'll drop a pod early Sunday morning recapping all of the Rams selections. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. Visit our website at ramsup.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.
Music courtesy of the YouTube audio library. Tracks featuring Bar Crawl by Track Tribe. Buckeye Bonzai by Vans in Japan, and Crimson Fly by Huma.